Chrisean. Here. Come on, get out of here. Come on. Come on. I don't want to be famous no more, bro. I don't but I'm just trying to get a shot of it. I'm sorry, bro. Alright, but you get this on camera. I'm sorry, bro. I'm not trying to disrespect you, my most fuck the camera. Yeah, fuck the camera. But you need the camera for some reason. I don't. I've been willing to leave. From the you don't touch me. They don't touch me. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Don't touch me! Right behind. Don't touch me! They like fighting around me. We don't like it. No, bro. Don't touch me, bro. Don't touch me, bro. We're not having enough right. Hey, Pop. This girl, we're not laying on the ground. Bro, escort her out the fucking house. What? Don't be. What? You just put me out the house. Get water. And what else? How I felt when I was out there. Felt like not myself. I felt like I was never pretending. I felt like I was protecting motherfuckers.
Nobody pressed pause. Nobody hit rewind. 1 second, the internet was bored, restless, scrolling for the next mess. And the next second, an interview dropped that felt less like a conversation and more like a psychological ambush. Chrisean Rock didn't just get talked about. She got dissected calmly, casually, with the kind of tone that makes your stomach sink before your brain catches up. Because this wasn't screaming. This wasn't chaos. This wasn't a drunk rant or a clout-chasing meltdown. This was worse. This was quiet confidence. The kind that sounds rehearsed, intentional, and just believable enough to make people stop laughing and start listening. Within minutes, timelines froze. Group chats went silent. Reaction channels smelled blood. Because when an ex speaks slowly, clearly, and without emotion, the internet doesn't hear bitterness. It hears truth. And that's where things turn disturbing, not dramatic. Disturbing, not reality TV disturbing. This was the kind of disturbing that makes people rewatch old clips and say, wait, what if we were wrong? The kind that makes past chaos suddenly look planned. The kind that makes the Kardashians look like they're arguing over who ate the last gluten-free cookie. Why? The time Chrisean realized what was happening. The narrative had already left the station. And once the internet decides to rewrite your story, it doesn't ask permission. It didn't arrive screaming for attention. No teaser trailer, no dramatic countdown, just an interview quietly slipping onto the internet like a bad thought you can't unthink. That's how the most disturbing moments begin. Calm, casual, almost polite before they crawl under your skin and refuse to leave. By the time people realized what they were watching, it was already too late. The narrative had shifted and Chrisean Rock didn't even get a warning shot. The first thing everyone noticed was the tone. Not rage, not bitterness, not the unhinged energy people expect from messy breakups. This was worse. This was composure. The kind of calm that makes listeners lean in instead of scrolling away. Anger sounds defensive. Calm sounds prepared. Calm sounds like someone who's been sitting on information, waiting for the right moment to let it breathe. And that's exactly what it felt like. A slow exhale after holding something in for way too long. He didn't start with accusations. He started with reassurance. I'm not here to bash her. The most dangerous sentence in internet history. Because what follows that line is never kindness. It's implication wrapped in a velvet glove. He framed everything as concern. Context, perspective, no yelling, no receipts waved at the camera, just carefully chosen words spaced out like landmines. He talked about what people didn't see, about behavior behind closed doors, about moments that allegedly played out very differently when cameras weren't rolling. Each sentence felt intentionally unfinished, as if daring the audience to complete it themselves. And the internet never turns down an invitation to speculate. That's the trick. You don't accuse, you suggest. You let the audience do the damage while you sit there looking reasonable. The timing couldn't have been more brutal. Chrisean had been nudging her image in a new direction. Less chaos, more focus, a quiet attempt to step away from nonstop controversy and into something resembling stability. And just as that shift began, the past showed up unannounced with a microphone and a memory. The interview didn't just question events. It questioned authenticity, and that's where things took a disturbing turn. Events can be debated. Authenticity is personal. Once someone suggests that emotions were exaggerated or reactions were timed for effect, the audience starts rewatching everything through a new lens. And rewatching is dangerous. Clips resurfaced instantly. Old arguments, old breakdowns, old moments that once felt raw and spontaneous were now being slowed down, zoomed in, analyzed frame by frame like evidence. People pointed out pauses, expressions, timing, not because they proved anything, but because they could be interpreted to support doubt. Doubt doesn't need facts. It needs plausibility. He spoke about patterns instead of incidents. Patterns are far more damaging. An incident can be dismissed as a bad day. A pattern becomes a personality trait in the court of public opinion. And once that label sticks, it's almost impossible to shake. The sarcasm online hit fast. Tweets joked that the interview needed a warning label. Memes compared it to opening a cursed book and pretending nothing would happen. Reaction channels rushed to upload breakdowns that were really just amplified opinions dressed up as analysis. Everyone wanted to be first, loudest, and most certain. Meanwhile, Chrisean Rock said nothing. An live response. No emotional outburst, no denial, just silence. And silence in moments like this isn't interpreted as maturity. It's interpreted as shock, fear, or strategy. Pick whichever fits your bias. The internet did. Speculation exploded. Some said she was blindsided. Others claimed legal teams were already scrambling. A few insisted she was plotting the perfect comeback response. Each theory sounded believable to someone, which is all it takes for rumors to solidify into narrative. The disturbing part wasn't that people were talking. It was how quickly the conversation shifted from what was said to who she was, not actions. Identity. Once the internet starts debating your character instead of your choices, the ground under you becomes unstable. He continued calmly, never raising his voice, never appearing emotional. That posture mattered. It made him sound less like a bitter ex and more like an observer. Whether that was fair or not didn't matter. Confidence reads as credibility to an audience already primed for suspicion. And then came the most unsettling idea of all. What if the chaos wasn't accidental? What if it was curated? That suggestion didn't need proof. It needed imagination. And the internet has plenty of that. Suddenly, people weren't just reacting to the interview. They were rewriting history. Past moments were reframed. Old narratives adjusted. What once looked impulsive now looked intentional. What once felt unfiltered now felt calculated. This is how public perception shifts. Not with a verdict, but with a question mark. Fans defended her fiercely at first. They accused him of clout chasing, revenge, bitterness. But even within those defenses, the tone shifted. Less certainty, more exhaustion. Defending someone becomes harder when the accusations aren't direct and the delivery sounds controlled. Critics, on the other hand, latched on immediately. They praised the calmness. They praised the honesty. They praised the courage it allegedly took to speak out. The same interview was being interpreted in completely opposite ways, and both sides felt justified. That's when you know a story has crossed the point of no return. By the end of the interview, nothing concrete had been proven. No smoking gun, no undeniable revelation. And yet everything felt different. That's the power of implication. It doesn't need to win an argument. It just needs to introduce uncertainty. Chrisean Rock wasn't just trending. She was being reevaluated. Her past wasn't just remembered, it was being reassessed. And her silence had become part of the story whether she liked it or not. This wasn't closure. This wasn't healing. This was the opening of a door that doesn't close easily. Because once someone else plants doubt in your narrative, you don't get to control how far it spreads. The internet takes it, twists it, monetizes it, and feeds it back louder than before. And this was only the beginning, because when the crowd starts asking questions, it doesn't stop until something breaks or someone does. Once the interviews settled into the bloodstream of the internet, it didn't stay still. It evolved. That's what stories like this do. When they sense attention, they mutate. By the next morning, the interview wasn't just being watched. It was being used, clipped, captioned, weaponized. The calm words that sounded unsettling the night before were now everywhere, stripped of nuance and sharpened into talking points. The reaction economy clocked in early and worked over time. 10-second clips with oversized captions screamed certainty where none existed. This changes everything. Y'all missed this. She can't come back from this. Context vanished. Tone got louder. Certainty became currency, and the more absolute a take sounded, the faster it spread. Then came the memes, the internet's favorite accelerant. Screenshots paired with sarcastic captions turned implication into punchlines. Split-screen edits lined up old cry-in moments next to new interview claims like a courtroom slideshow nobody consented to. People laughed, shared, reposted, and unknowingly helped lock the narrative into place. Humor didn't soften the blow, it cemented it. Influencers entered the chat wearing their favorite disguise, neutrality. "I'm not picking sides," they said before picking sides with therapist-coded language and a straight face. Words like patterns, accountability, and emotional intelligence floated through timelines like moral confetti. Once psychological vocabulary gets involved, gossip starts sounding like judgment, and judgment sticks. Public reactions split cleanly into camps. One side treated the interview like overdue truth, finally seeing daylight. Another dismissed it as a calculated hit job from a man desperate to control the narrative. The third side didn't care who was right. They cared that it was entertaining. And that third group quietly drives everything. What made this phase more dangerous than the first was participation. The audience wasn't just watching anymore. They were contributing, stitching clips, adding commentary, reframing moments. The story became communal property. And communal stories don't respect accuracy. They respect engagement. Celebrity reactions didn't help. Not the obvious ones, the subtle ones. A like here, a follow there. A conveniently timed caption about protecting peace or walking away from toxicity. The internet reads those gestures like Morse code. When certain industry names went quiet, people noticed. When others interacted with critical content, assumptions turned into conclusions. Suddenly, everyone remembered something. A moment that fell off. A line delivery that seemed rehearsed. A breakdown that now looked convenient. The past doesn't stay frozen online. It gets re-edited based on whatever story is trending. Old footage resurfaced with new titles slapped on top like warning labels. The pop culture comparisons went nuclear. People said this drama made old celebrity feuds look like scripted sitcoms. Others joked it felt like watching a magician explain the trick and realizing you didn't want to know. Some claimed it was reality TV without editors, which is somehow worse. The louder the comparisons got, the more the situation felt irreversible and still no response. That silence became unbearable for some and suspicious for others. Every hour without a statement was treated like a statement. She's hiding. She's plotting. She's legally gagged. She's waiting for the algorithm to cool down. Each theory found believers. Plausibility replaced proof. Comment sections transformed into courtrooms with no judges and unlimited prosecutors. Timelines were built like evidence boards. Screenshots were treated like sworn testimony. People spoke with confidence they hadn't earned, fueled by the illusion of proximity that social media creates. Watching someone for years doesn't mean you know them, but the internet never lets that stop it. The interview itself became a Rorschach test. Supporters heard honesty in the calm delivery. Skeptics heard rehearsal. Fence-sitters heard just enough ambiguity to justify whichever conclusion they already leaned toward. That's the brilliance and the danger of implication. And it lets the audience write the ending they prefer and defend it like canon. Reaction videos escalated. Thumbnails grew angrier. Voices got louder. Everyone promised the final breakdown, which was always followed by another breakdown the next day. The story fed on itself. Algorithms love conflict because conflict keeps people scrolling. And this conflict had history layers and a main character who wasn't speaking due. Some point the conversation drifted from the interview to Christian's identity. Not what she did, but what she represented. People debated whether chaos could coexist with authenticity, whether vulnerability could be strategic, whether pain could be monetized without becoming manipulation. Heavy questions for a timeline that usually argues about outfits and captions. And yet, those questions stuck because the interview reframed everything. It didn't prove anything, but it introduced doubt. Doubt is contagious. It doesn't need facts to spread. It just needs repetition and confidence. And the internet supplied both in bulk. Even defenders felt the shift. Their arguments changed. Tone, less certainty, more fatigue. Why do we do this every time? Replaced. She would never. Defending someone becomes harder when the conversation moves from facts to trust. And trust is subjective. The wildest twist was that the ex didn't say another word. He didn't need to. The internet was doing free labor, amplifying every implication and layering it with new meaning. Every reaction, every meme, every hot take extended the lifespan of his original move. By the end of the week, the story didn't feel like breaking news anymore. It felt like settled opinion. That's the danger zone. When narratives stop feeling new and start feeling true, even without proof, and hovering over everything was the unanswered question that refused to go away. When she finally speaks, well, into a constant background buzz, the damage was already permanent. Not explosive damage, the kind that gets patched with apologies and distraction, but structural damage. The kind that shifts how people look at you even when they stop talking about you. Cry and Rock didn't wake up canceled. She woke up questioned. And that's worse because cancellation is loud and temporary. Doubt is quiet and sticky. The aftermath didn't announce itself with headlines. It crept in through silence. Messages that stopped coming. Conversations that paused mid-sentence. Meetings that got rescheduled. When scandals reach this phase, nobody wants to be first to take a side. They want to see where the wind settles. Before deciding which way to lean, and the wind was unpredictable. Public perception had changed, but not cleanly. It fractured. Some still saw Chrisean as the same raw, impulsive figure they'd always supported. Others now viewed her through a colder lens, not chaotic, but calculated. That single shift in framing rewrote everything. Chaos can be forgiven. Calculation gets judged. Her every move became suspect. A laugh looked forced. A breakdown looked convenient. A calm response looked rehearsed. She wasn't just reacting anymore. She was performing for an audience that didn't trust the script. That's the cruel paradox of viral doubt. Once people didn't listen for emotion, they audited it. They replayed clips, measured tone, analyzed timing. Supporters tried to amplify her words. Critics dissected them. Fence-sitters waited to see which interpretation would win. And no matter what she said, it fed the machine because responses don't end narratives. Once they've escaped containment, they become chapters. And this chapter didn't feel like resolution. It felt like confirmation to people who had already made up their minds. Behind the scenes, relationships shifted. Some allies stayed loud. Others went quiet. Silence from familiar faces spoke volumes. Loyalty doesn't always leave with a statement. Sometimes it just disappears from the room and hopes no one notices. The industry noticed nothing dramatic happened. No public blacklist, no official announcements, just hesitation. Brands hate uncertainty. Producers hate unpredictability and narratives that suggest manipulation fair or not trigger caution. Chaos can be marketed. Distrust cannot do a T. The same time something uncomfortable emerged. The curiosity didn't die. It sharpened. People didn't want her gone. They wanted answers. They wanted to see what came next. Would she double down, rebrand, go quiet, go nuclear? The internet doesn't demand perfection. It demands continuation. And uncertainty keeps people watching longer than clarity ever could. Her past became a living document, constantly edited. Old moments were no longer memories. They were exhibits. Context got rearranged. Intent got reassigned. Once history becomes flexible, Legacy becomes unstable. The relationship at the center of it all transformed into myth. Not a breakup, a case study, something referenced without details. Remember how that ended? That's when you know a story has left gossip territory and entered cultural shorthand. And the ex, he stayed out of sight, not defending, not clarifying, not escalating. Whether intentional or not, his silence worked. He had already introduced the virus. The internet did the spreading. Every argument, every reaction, every think piece extended the lifespan of his calm delivery. The unsettling realization came late, but it hit hard. This was never about proving facts. It was about control of the narrative. And the moment someone else speaks first calmly, confidently, without visible emotion, control shifts, not completely, but enough to change how every future move is interpreted. Chrisean Rock didn't just face an interview. She faced a mirror she didn't choose, held up by an audience that didn't need permission. And once that mirror exists, you don't get to decide when people stop looking into it. The internet eventually moved on, chasing the next implosion, the next exposed secret, the next trending scandal. That's what it always does. But this story didn't disappear. It settled into the background, waiting for the next time her name trended, ready to resurface with fresh commentary and recycled doubt. Scandals don't die, they hibernate. And the most dangerous part isn't the moment they break. It's the quiet after, when nothing feels resolved, but everything feels different. Because in an era where calm interviews hit harder than screaming matches, reputations don't collapse from accusations, and this is where things get even messier. Because if you think this story ends neatly, you clearly haven't met the internet. Scandals don't get closure anymore. They get sequels, spin-offs, and surprise reboots nobody asked for. One interview flipped the board, and now every move gets watched like it's the final episode of a series that refuses to end. So let's hear from you. Drop your take in the comments right now. Was that interview a long overdue truth bomb or a calculated move designed to rewrite history? Do you think Chrisean Rock was genuinely shaken? Or is this just another chapter in a storyline the internet refuses to let rest? Don't scroll past Jews aside and defend it like you're testifying under oath. If this breakdown hit harder than expected, smash that like button like it owes you money and just try to dodge the payment. No gentle taps, no sympathy clicks. Hit it with full conviction so the algorithm knows we're not here to whisper. We're here to expose. And if you're new here, subscribe now before the next scandal erupts without warning. Because when interviews take disturbing turns, when narratives flip overnight, and when reputations hang in the balance, this is where the chaos gets unpacked with zero filters and maximum sarcasm. Turn on notifications so you don't miss the next meltdown, the next breaking silence, or the next moment where the internet collectively loses its mind because scandals don't stop coming. The drama never runs out, and Fame Ripple is always watching the fallout.